I'm Janelle. I've been with the Museum of Tropical Queensland since last January. My background is I got a BA about 30 years ago, and everybody said, "God, what do you want one of those for? They can't get a job. You need to do science or business or whatever." And I said, "Well, no, I'll be a journalist." So I studied to be a journalist, did media stuff and advertising, public relations, those sorts of things. There was a bit of a cutback on cadetships, so I ended up doing some freelance stuff, and then I eventually fell into teaching. Got a diploma of education in English and Indigenous Studies. Went to Palm Island, did a few years there, taught in high schools for a long time, and then sort of thought, well, I might actually go down to early childhood because I'll stop patting me on the head. And I do, yes, miss. And so I went down to early childhood, had much more fun, and instilled what I hope is a love of learning that seems to disappear in high school. And after that, and after I managed to have 5 children in between that, and balance some community consultation and some PR work, and I've tutored at JCU and I've tutored at TAFE, and I've been a pig farmer. I had 5 children, and I've done community volunteering, and I've done, what else? Lots of other things. I've taught in community schools, state schools, private schools, so I've sort of done the whole gamut of education. And of course I've taught adults, so I just sort of kind of feel like I have this sort of dispersed background in all sorts of things, mainly humanities. But I've managed to actually bring it all together in this job, because my job is learning activities and public programs. So basically, I have to deal with all those people that Robert mentioned and a few more, and work out what can I do that takes all that complex knowledge and makes it into an exciting, interesting experience for you. Well, what can I actually develop that allows you to create that experience for yourself? So my job is to design and deliver experiences which engage and connect individuals with the objects and the collections and complex theories and concepts. And I use every single skill that I have been taught in the last 30 years. I use my research skills, my writing skills, my locating skills as a librarian, knowing where to look. I have used my teaching skills in crowd management and discipline. I use my tactful teacher self, my psychology self. I use the advertising in terms of I identify what people's needs and desires are and then try and meet them. I use my PR self. So every hat that I've put on in the last 30 years, I've been able to use in this job. Practical, I've been a cleaner as well. So I mean, I've been able to use and relate to people, use skills and relate to people of every different level and every different age group. Because of what I've gathered. So if you have a career where you sort of seem to meander from one thing to the other and try and fit things in between families and not really knowing where you go, don't worry about it, because everything you gather along the way you'll be able to put into the next job. Now, I thought rather than bore you silly with lots of things, I'd actually sort of tell you what I do on a daily basis. My typical day is never the same. Every single day I go in with a list, and I can tell you that sometimes that list doesn't get addressed till Friday because I have to deal with left field stuff. So my typical day may involve loans kits inquiries, because I deal with loans kits, and that's the list that you've got, sending out to schools objects that encourage hands-on, object-based inquiry and discovery learning. May engage with teachers to tell them how to use those objects. I may do object-based lessons as an example for teachers so that they can then go and do it in their classrooms. I deal with phone calls for school group bookings. What do I do with 90 kids in Year 4 who've come in to do seafaring in the 18th century? What kind of activities can we develop for that? What do I do with the year 2? 75 of them who want to come in and learn about adaptations in the natural world. I might also have to deal with one of the scientists from downstairs who's been asked to deliver a classification taxonomy presentation to a bunch of year 7s. How does he do that? What can he use? So I deal with scientists who have this very complex knowledge to inform my knowledge, and then I give them activities, or I work with them with group dynamics and things like that, about how they can do something that's interesting. I might be working with public program staff in terms of advising them on what Australian curriculum elements in the new upcoming exhibitions, and we work on exhibitions up to 5 years ahead, might be what parts of the curriculum might be relevant, what we can develop out of those for students. Now, I can also put on my journalist hat and proofread exhibition information that other people have written, and I put on my journalist hat, my teacher hat, my mother hat, my librarian hat, and every other hat I can possibly wear. I usually take my thinking hat when I go out to school programs, because if you put it on and you think really, really, really hard, you can see your brain working. And the grade 2s especially love this. So I wear many hats, and that's one of them. I design and test. This is my fun job. We design and test the activities for lead programs. I do coordinating the holiday program for Creepy Crawlies at the moment, which is our next one. Our holiday programs. Who's an education student? Anybody? Are you all art students? Please come and volunteer, you'll love it. Education students will know about pracs. Do art students have anything where they have to go into workforces and do some practical activities or work experience? Some maybe. Well, those of you who've got friends who are education students, they'll talk about going on a prac. And they say, oh, you know, I just work so hard, da 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 da. Holiday programs are like it's like crack on crack, I call it, because it's dealing with, our Easter program deals with up to 7,000 people, for example. Now, what I'm currently doing is working out how we can make insects interesting for children. So this is one of our past activities, where we make our little spider climb up the web. We can teach about metamorphosis. We can teach about parts of insects. Looking through flies' eyes, development of exoskeletons. We can develop learning stations where the children actually get to do stuff. They learn how to pick up things like ants do, so we can compare the activities. They can make the very, very hungry caterpillar, which is not really, because it's Eric Carl's caterpillar, this one's mine. This is my Lamar's caterpillar. We can make him crawl into his cocoon, and we can zip him up, where he's going to go to sleep in his very, very, very nice little custom-made sleeping bag and hang out of a tree for a little while, and when he emerges he'll be a butterfly. We can talk about the defence mechanisms of insects. Pillbugs curl up. Okay. Echidnas curl up. So use practical everyday objects that kids are familiar with in order to get through some complex concepts. So that's part of my job. Robert and I made dinosaurs, boxosauruses. Last holiday program, we got cardboard boxes and some joiners, and we made all sorts of things. So we gave kids a pattern and said, well, if it's a herbivore, it's got a long neck and short legs, and what kind of boxes will we need? Let's make some boxosauruses. So that's what we did, and that was really great fun. I'm currently helping develop and rewrite some of the programs that we've got in line with the Australian curriculum. I work with volunteers, with the volunteer coordinator. He sends me people who go, oh, this is really, really great fun. Can I do a project? And I go, yes, 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 come and help me do this. I liaise with marketing, I liaise with displays, I liaise with the cleaners, because if I want to stick something up or write on a window or do something, I have to be able to make sure I can get it off and I don't upset people. I have to liaise with the workplace health and safety people and make sure that any risk assessments for any activities are done, because we're putting things out to the public. My advice to you, and I'm winding up, my advice to you, wherever you go, find out about your community. Grassroots stuff. Who are your community organisations? What's your demographics? How can you fit in? Get involved in your community. Become a volunteer wherever you can and do things. Whatever skills you've got, you can use them in volunteer organisations. You get great practical experience, you get great networking experience, and lots of positive stuff that allows you to fall back on things as you progress through your career. Your life experience is as valuable as your academic experience. Make the most of every opportunity that's given to you. Don't sit back. Don't be elitist. Okay, don't be elitist. You know, that this knowledge thing is, you know, much more important than practical hands-on stuff. I do computer stuff as well, but most of my work is practical. Ask questions. Don't ever stop asking questions. Look at the world through the eyes of a 4-year-old. Look at the eyes through a 2-year-old. Get down on your hands and knees every now and again and crawl around the floor and see what you can see. That's how children see the world. It'll bring a whole heap of things home to you that you hadn't thought about. Be adaptable. Right? We are living in a very fast-changing world. Be adaptable. Make connections between things in your community, things in your life, and the things that you've studied. Keep up to date, your skills, your knowledge, your contacts. Read everything you can get your hands on. Science, history, arts, what do you call that? Popular culture stuff, which I hate. Local papers, the Wheat Picks Nutrition Panel, how-to guides, everything. You've got no idea where that knowledge is going to come in handy or where you can make a connection. Understand other people's jobs. When you can make connections, you can relate ideas, concepts and people. And Einstein said, imagination is much more important than knowledge. And I believe wholeheartedly in that.
Thank you, Janelle.